Welcome, everyone. Dr. Mike Reid from Chiropractic Masters International. I want to welcome everyone to tonight's Master Talk. I have a good friend of mine, Krista from the American Posture Institute, and she's going to be talking about how to become the go-to posture expert in your community and make an extra 100,000 a year. So, Krista, thank you for being on with us tonight.
Of course, I'm really excited. Thank you so much for the invitation. I know you have a really fired up group of doctors, so it's exciting to be connecting with all of you. Shout out to everybody who's here live with us, Davis, Justin, and sorry, I'm not sure your other name, but it's good to see you guys live, and everybody who's watching the replay. Good to see ya.
Fantastic. Well, those of you who are joining us and those who are going to listen to this on the podcast or the replay, I want to thank you for listening in. And, you know, posture is so important in the community. Years ago, Krista, we used to do like the Kids Day International. We would be checking kids. We try to get them to colleges. It's not an easy thing to do. So I'm really excited to hear about what you have and what you're rolling out with API.
Wonderful. So should we go ahead and get started?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So my goal for you today is what I want to do is I want to walk through step by step of how each of you can add an additional $100,000 to your practice this year as the go-to posture expert. So we're going to go through it step by step. And here's my promise to you, is that you're going to get the step by step, and you're going to see how you can do this by being clinical and positioning yourself as the authority, as the go-to posture expert within your community, and never feeling like a salesperson. So my goal for you is that you get the breakthrough results, the step-by-step implementation plan, and that you walk away from this webinar clear on exactly what to do next so that you can start increasing your results right away. And if you stay till the end of the webinar, I want to give you guys a free guide. So we're going to be going through a lot. One of the things that I really pride myself on at the American Posture Institute is that we keep it super implementable and step by step. So as we're going, if there's some notes that you want to take, just know that I'm going to give you a free guide at the end, which goes through how to profit from posture, okay? So stick with us to the end and you'll get that free guide. So your success is my priority. That is our motto. That is our number one core value at the American Posture Institute. So I am the co-founder of the American Posture Institute, and we've helped thousands of healthcare professionals just like you in over 40 countries worldwide become the go-to expert and get the results that we're talking about today. In fact, we have 5-star posture certifications. So we'll go through this of how you can position yourself as the go-to posture expert. So I'm coming from you today as the co-founder of the American Posture Institute, but I definitely did not start there. So I want to talk to you about my first year in practice and give you a little insights kind of on the backstory of where the American Posture Institute came from. So I refer to the first year in practice as the treadmill effect, the feeling of working so hard to get ahead, but seemingly never moving forward. You see, right after graduation, I was 26 years old, I packed my bags, and I moved to the country of Italy. Now, I was completely naive. I thought that I could just show up. I thought that if I opened a practice, from scratch with absolutely no entrepreneurial experience, Italy was in the worst economic crisis of Italian history. I didn't speak the language, and I knew absolutely nobody. But I was naive, and I thought, you know what, if I just open a practice with my passion and with my skills, I'll be able, people will come flooding to my doors. What happened is I opened the doors and there was crickets, right? And so there I was. I had moved my entire life over to Italy and I started a practice, and this was really my dream. And as the first year started progressing, it was like, I'd call home and my family would be like, you know what, it's pretty great that you moved over there, but you should just give up and come back to America at this point. You're not really making any money. Your practice isn't growing, just give up on the dream and come back home. So that's where I started year number one with the treadmill effect. And so I knew I needed to grow my practice, but I felt like everything I was doing, I was sprinting, I was working so hard to grow, but it was like I was running in place. The second I'd get a new patient in, I'd lose 2 out the back door. So I'd be excited about getting a new patient, but then I lost 2 that day. So now I was just still in the same place that I started that morning. I literally tried everything to get ahead. I tried doing free first visits. I had the idea that, in my head that if I just gave away free first visits, people would stay. I did screenings in the mall. I was out there telling the story. I was trying to convert patients. I was doing sales talks. I was thinking positively. I was saying my daily affirmations, and I didn't understand why I couldn't get ahead that first year in practice. Now I can tell you the exact moment that everything changed for me. I was in my apartment in Sardinia, which is a Mediterranean paradise, and I was reading the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. Hands in the air if you guys have read the book, Good to Great, or if you've heard of it. Now, in this book, Jim Collins talks about the difference between good companies and great companies. Now, all good companies, they mean well, they have good products, but great companies are the ones that leave a legacy, that really stand the test of time. And what we found is that the difference between good companies and great companies, the ones that mean well versus the one that create a legacy and stand the test of time, are that all great companies specialize. They're all go-to experts in one single thing. So in that exact moment, it was like that gut check, right? What I realized is that while I was on the treadmill of failure after failure, I was trying to do everything to move forward instead of focusing and honing in on one unique expertise. And so in that gut check moment, I realized that I was just a generalist and I wasn't a specialist. So I got to work and I started thinking to myself, like, what worked? You know, a lot of things didn't work this first year in practice, but what was one of the things that did work that I could hone in my expertise? And what I discovered by looking back is that every time I did an external promotion on postural correction, I got more people in the door. And every time I did posture imaging on day one and then monitored their progress throughout their treatment programs with posture imaging, they stayed longer. So I realized I was onto something. And I thought, you know what? If I want to be a great company, not just a good company, then I'm going to specialize in postural correction. And that's where our unique expert position was born, to become the go-to posture experts. So I was in practice with my partner, Dr. Mark Wade, and that's where we honed in everything on posture. We started reading research studies. We went through 1,000 research studies. We did every certification that we could to become the go-to posture experts. We started doing all of our external promotions specifically on posture. We really honed in our skills and made sure that we could deliver to get the best postural correction results. We even guaranteed results in our practice. That's how certain we were that we were helping people get postural correction results. And guess what happened? Once we defined our unique expert position and positioned ourselves as the go-to expert, and instead of trying to help every single person with every single condition every day of the week and being generalists, we were the go-to experts. And suddenly we had a full practice. You know, where once I was doing anything I could to get new patients, I now had a waiting list of people. I was asked to speak at schools. I mean, we were in, you know, as you mentioned at the beginning, we were in doing posture checks to the Italian school system. We were working with the fire departments. I was in speaking to all these different corporations. Dr. Mark was working with 5 different professional sports teams in our area. So we honed in on our unique expert position and we were suddenly able to grow. So why posture? Posture is the answer because all patients get posture. I want you guys to try this out. It's called the dinner party trick or the coffee shop trick. Next time you're out, you know, with some friends over dinner, mention the word posture. Just say the word posture out loud and see what happens. What you're going to notice is that suddenly everybody sits up a little bit straighter. Why do they do that? They do that because posture is a word that's in their vocabulary. They have been told their entire life to sit up straight. Now, mom and grandma and teacher who were constantly telling your patients to sit up straight throughout their entire life, they didn't understand the neurophysiology behind posture, but guess what? They didn't have to. That's your job. What they realized is that posture is a fundamental aspect of health and human wellness. And so we've been told our whole lives to sit up straight. And so when you say the word posture, people instantly go, oh, yeah, I need to work on my posture. I want you guys to try it. Don't take my word for it. Actually try it and watch people have a physical change in their physiology when you say this one word. Patients get it. They can say it. And if we look at research healthcare consumer desires, what brings patients into your office? What makes them call you and come in and open up their wallet for your services? Research healthcare consumer desires tell us that patients want one of 3 things. They want to look better, they want to move better, and they want to feel better. Look better, move better, feel better. What I love about posture is that it simultaneously fulfills each and every single one of these healthcare consumer desires. So now, not only do the patients get posture, they already know that they need better posture. They understand the words that you're using. And guess what? You are simultaneously fulfilling each one of their values. They're coming in and they say different words. They say things like, I have back pain or I have neck pain. But what they're really telling you is, I want to look better, move better, and feel better. And so by addressing that and providing postural correction, you're fulfilling each of those 3 healthcare consumer desires. Now, this is really important, guys. Take notes, put a little star by this one. Is what we found from the research is that 85% of patients don't understand their healthcare provider. 85%. I mean, a shocking majority of patients don't understand their doctors. So if we're talking to them in words that they don't understand, that's the 85%. When you use the word posture and they understand it, not just the verbiage that you're using, but it reinforces what they already believe and they have a physiologic response to it, now suddenly you're positioned in that top 15% of healthcare providers that communicates clearly with your patients. I mean, imagine that. So 85% of people currently don't understand their doctors. I want to position you in that top 15 to help you grow your practice. Now, another statistic tells us that 50% of patients walk out of doctors' offices unsure what to do next. Like they come in and they say, I need help, will you guide me? And then they leave going, I'm not really clear on what I'm supposed to do next. So now imagine if you're speaking in words that they understand and you're meeting their belief systems and their values, they walk out understanding clearly what you said and they're clear on the next steps. So I want to position you in the top 15%. Plus I want to send you a bunch of referrals because here's the thing, is that all healthcare providers worldwide agree that posture is important. There's not a single medical doctor, chiropractor, physical therapist, acupuncturist out there who doesn't agree that posture is important. In fact, we would kind of laugh if they said it wasn't, right? Your posture is the structural framework of your body. Of course, we understand from the evidence that the proper posture helps your body function at a higher level. So now all healthcare providers agree that posture is important. Patients get it. Patients want it, providing you a blue ocean market opportunity. Here's what I want you to do after this webinar. You can even do it right now. Is I want you to Google how many posture experts are in your town, okay? So let's say you're in Reno, Nevada, and you Google it, see how many come up. I'm here to tell you there's probably going to be 0 to maybe 5. Okay, now if you Google how many chiropractors are in your town, you're going to see a lot more. So you have a blue ocean market opportunity to position yourself in a way that stands out from everybody else in the marketplace. And right now is the best time in history to become a posture expert. Guess what? All of your patients have one of these, or they're connected on a computer like we are right now. And this posture is the new normal. I did not say ideal, but I definitely said normal. Every time you look around, you see patients looking down at their cell phones and they're in this tech neck posture. Right now is the best time in history to stay ahead of this curve as the go-to posture expert. People are presenting with tech neck, which is then leading to digital dementia, which is another topic for another day that I'd love to teach you guys more about, but it's directly impacting their structure and their physiology as well as their neurology. So what I want to talk about today then is giving you the shortcut. So it took me a year to figure this out, a year of failing and being on the treadmill to figure out what I want to teach you today so you can grow your practice as a go-to posture expert. So let's dive in. So there's 3 steps. There's 3 secrets of how you can profit from posture. Number 1 is that postural correction works in any practice without buying fancy, expensive equipment. Number 2 is that you can make an extra $10,000 this month for $120,000 this year because patients get posture. We'll show you how to do that. Number 3 is that you can become the go-to posture expert in just 30 days, okay? So let's start with secret number 1. Postural correction works in any practice. So here's one of the biggest misconceptions about posture practices. It's that you have to buy a bunch of new equipment. Now, I'm here to tell you from experience that I started a practice on no budget, and I was in a country where I wasn't able to readily get, equipment sent to me. And so I had to figure out systems that worked without having to buy all of this crazy fancy equipment. And guess what we did? We honed that in. So I always want to share with people, all of the healthcare professionals that we teach at the American Posture Institute, that you can get phenomenal postural correction results that are objective, that we can measure over time with posture imaging without buying a bunch of fancy equipment. In fact, we highly emphasize a 3-component system of complete postural correction. Number 1 is spinal alignment. That's what you're doing with the patients on a day-to-day basis. Number 2 is postural rehabilitation. If you have a rehabilitation room in your office or room for it, I recommend doing in-office rehabilitation and then at-home rehabilitation to support the great work that you're doing with your adjustments. And number 3 is postural habit re-education. Right now, more than ever, number 3 is so important. And the reason being is because the second patients walk out your door, remember they spend maybe 1 hour per week in your office, and they spend 23 hours per day and 40 hours per week in their office, 23 hours per day doing their activities, daily living. The second they grab their cell phone, they're back into this posture, reversing what you just did. So it's really important that we have this 3-component system for complete postural correction. So spinal alignment, posture rehabilitation, and posture habit re-education. Now, this is exactly what we did to grow a successful posture practice. And again, it doesn't have to be expensive. So I just listed out some things here that you need for a posture practice to get started as a posture expert. Now, what I want you to realize is that the total cost of all of this is just $235. Like if you wanted to get started right away integrating postural rehabilitation into practice, this is not something that you need to make this massive investment in order to achieve. Okay, you can get started right away. And if you don't have a rehab room in your office, if you're restricted by space and staff, don't let that hold you back either, because you can have your patients doing at-home posture rehabilitation as a perfect solution to supplement the fantastic adjustments that you guys are all doing with the patient in your practice. Does that make sense? Okay, so now here's one thing that all posture practices need, and it's called posture imaging. Hands in the air for everybody who's listening in. If you guys utilize posture imaging, some sort of app to evaluate posture, okay? Now, this is, again, really inexpensive, but it will change everything for your practice. Literally, it will change everything. This is the one thing that all posture experts need is posture imaging. The reason being is because you can monitor objective results. So from your perspective as a healthcare provider, you're saying, okay, the patient comes in and they look like this on day one. Now at reeval 1, reeval 2, and then reeval 3, or at the end of their program, you can see that and manage that progression of correction over time. Okay, so objective results. Not to mention, it's extremely effective patient communication. So you guys, I want to give you my number one strategy so that every single report of findings that you do from here forward, you can integrate this, and I promise you, you will see a light bulb every single time. Again, don't take my word for it. I want you guys to try it out. So here's what I want you to do in the next report of findings, okay? On day 1, you take a posture image. And then on day 2, as you're giving your report, if you do it in 2 days, I tend to do it in 2 days, but however you set it up. So when you're doing your report of findings, here's what I want you to do. I want you to explain the posture health connection. I want you to show them what good posture looks like so that they know. And then here's what I want you to do. I want you to hand them their posture image and you say, okay, Mrs. Jones, you tell me, what do you see? And then guess what you say? You say nothing. You be quiet. You let Mrs. Jones respond. And here's what Mrs. Jones is going to say every single time. She's going to look at her posture images and go, whoa, I had no idea I looked this bad. Or, wow, no wonder I have a headache. Look at my forward head posture. She might not say forward head posture, but look at my neck or look at my spine. So she's going to respond in her vocabulary. You're going to let her respond because guess what just happened? She just gave herself a report of findings, at which point you say, yes, Mrs. Jones, I see exactly what you're talking about. The good news is that we have a solution to your posture problem in this practice. And this is exactly how we're going to do it. And then you go into your treatment plan. She just told you you had a problem. And then guess what? You made her right and you gave her a solution. Let me explain what happens if we do this in the reverse way, where we sit there and tell Mrs. Jones she has a problem. So if you hand Mrs. Jones a picture of herself and say, this looks really bad. Look, I mean, do you see how bad this forward head posture is? Do you see these postural abnormalities that you present with? Mrs. Jones then gets defensive. She goes, what do you mean? I don't look that bad, And then, so you've just made her defensive versus my number one strategy for report of findings is she tells you what she sees because she's going to be critical. And then you say, yes, I see exactly what you're saying here. The good news is that we have a solution to your posture problem. Do you guys see how simple that is? That little change in communication makes all the difference. And suddenly it's a light bulb moment because she just said, I have a problem. You said I have a solution, and here's how we're going to get there. And the good news is, Mrs. Jones, is that we're going to objectively evaluate your progress throughout your entire treatment plan. We're going to do posture images today for your baseline, as well as on your first, your second, and your third reevaluation, or however many reevaluations that you do, right, with your treatment plans. So that's a really solid strategy. And plus it makes you a referral magnet because at the end of Mrs. Jones' first, phase of care, she walks out holding her before and after posture images. Guess who she tells? She tells her spouse. She shows her friends. Just like a before and after weight loss photo that we all want to show off when we get results, the same is true with posture imaging. So she walks out and she is a referral magnet. And guess what? Not only does she have an image showing pre and post results, she knows how to communicate posture. And the person that she talks to gets posture. So suddenly, you're the go-to referral magnet. All right, so that's number one. Secret number 2 is that you can make an extra $10,000 this month as the go-to posture expert. Let's talk about how. Okay, so if you make $10,000 this month and continue to implement these strategies, that's over the course of this year, $120,000. So number 1 is posture kits. So here's what I disagree with completely, is just selling stuff in your practice to sell it. Here's what I definitely agree with. If you provide a transformation of postural correction, you give everything to that patient that they need to achieve better postural correction results. One of the things that they need is they need a posture kit. They need these rehabilitation solutions in the posture kit so that they can be successful with at-home rehabilitation and better ergonomics. So if you sell a posture kit for $125 per client and you sell 25 per month, which you'll sell a lot more than that, but let's say you sold 25 this month to be conservative, that's a total of $3,125. Guess what you just did? You increased profit per X, profit per patient, but you didn't do it in a slimy salesperson type of way. You gave them what they needed to help support their posture transformation. Now, here's what we love about posture kits, the power of tangibility. So on day 2, when you give your report of findings, they have just bought an idea. When they commit to their posture program and their treatment plan, they have just bought into an idea that at the end of their treatment program, they will have a posture transformation. Now, when they walk out holding a posture kit that they just purchased, now they're excited. They're holding something, the power of tangibility. And guess what? Because they're holding it, they want to get home and use it. It's new and it's novel. Just as every patient, around let's say visit 6, visit 10, they're out of pain, they're feeling better because you've done your job, and they start to lose that a little bit. With the power of tangibility, they walk out holding something, and they're likely to use it at home. So just remember how that is impactful from increasing profit per patient plus the power of tangibility. So some things that you can put in a posture kit are, for example, a posture cushion, head weights, posture reminders, which remind the patient to check their posture throughout the day for posture habit reeducation. There are exercises. It can be on a manual, on a DVD. You can send those via email, and also TheraBands. Okay, so you put together a kit that makes sense with the results that you're going to get. And these are great for at-home rehabilitation. Okay, step number two to making $10,000 this month as a go-to posture expert is posture programs. So I want every patient to commit to a posture program. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can do a posture program. It can be in office supporting your treatment, your adjustments and your treatments, or it can be an online program that you create, okay? So let's say that you make a posture program for $250, which you're gonna charge a lot more than that, but I wanna be conservative with these figures. And you sell it to 20 patients this month, okay? That's an extra $5,000 this month. And guess what? The transformation that you provide is postural correction. So this is in direct alignment, no pun intended, with the result that they're getting. So some examples of posture programs that you can do is fit posture for athletes, fit families if you work with families. So if you work with athletes, go athletes. If you work with families, do fit families. If you work with pregnant moms, posture perfect pregnancy, okay? So you can have these different posture programs that support your treatments. And then step number 3 to making $10,000 this month, $100,000 this year is posture workshops. So if you do a posture workshop each month, it's really good for retention because you're keeping your current people on target with what they need to know, and you're providing additional information to them and education. But in addition to that, it's an easy or a warm or safe referral. So Mrs. Jones is like, I've been trying to get my mom in, but she's not coming in for whatever reason. Or, Mrs. Jones says, I tell everybody about you. Well, Mrs. Jones can do a very safe referral by inviting her friends and family to come to the posture workshop. And then from there, you do a posture screening, which we can talk about in a different training. But you get 5 new patients per month from a posture workshop. Let's say you charge $40 per visit and they stay for 12 visits, which again, you're going to make more than this. That's an additional $2,400 per month. So some examples of posture workshops are design your workspace, fit posture for athletes, whoever you want to see, you set your posture program, your posture kit, and your posture workshops around those people. The power of breathing is another example. So if we look at this, posture kits, $3,125, posture programs, $5,000, posture workshops, $2,400. That's how you can step-by-step make an additional $10,525 this month to make $120,000 this year as the go-to posture expert. Imagine what an extra $10,000 per month would do for your lifestyle. I mean, it creates freedom, right? It creates the ability for your practice to work for you so that you can stay in your zone of genius and focus on the most important aspects, which is postural correction and getting close clinical outcomes. And again, there's a hard way and there's the easy way. The hard way is the mall screenings, the sales pitches, the giveaway free visits. I've been there, I've done them all, and they didn't work for me. But what definitely worked for me is the easy route, which is becoming the go-to posture expert in your community. So step number 3, or secret number 3, is becoming the go-to posture expert. So let's talk about what it takes to become the go-to expert. Now, when you think expert, I mean, think about this, right? Like, think for a minute about being an expert versus being a generalist. So let's imagine that your mom needed to go to a doctor, God forbid, for cancer, for heart disease, right? Something very serious. And you are looking, you're Googling doctors to bring your mom to because her life is in their hands. Who do you want to take her to? Do you want to take her to the heart doctor who does a little bit of heart, medicine, does some yoga, does some supplements, does a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and has a discounted coupon for a heart check? Or do you want to bring her to the go-to expert in your town who gets clinical objective results every time and is just positioned as the expert? I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? You want to bring your mom to the expert. And guess what? Your patients, when they're hurting, when they want to look better, move better, and feel better, they are searching for an answer. And they don't want to go to the generalist. They want to go to the expert, okay? So as an expert, you have increased certainty. So here's how you want to position yourself as the go-to expert. Number 1 is define our unique expert position. Once we defined our unique expert position of postural correction, everything changed in our practice. We were no longer generalists trying to do everything for everybody, every day of the week, every age, every case presentation. We delivered postural correction results, and we did it better than anybody else, okay? So what's your unique expert position? And then raise your knowledge to expert level. So I didn't just say I was a posture expert. I actually raised my knowledge to expert level. I did every certification. I read the research studies. I, put the time in. It was like my practice was like a laboratory to make sure I was getting the results. So really be that expert. Don't just position yourself as one, but be the expert. And then define your target niche. So you don't need to be the expert in helping every single person. You need to be the expert in the people you want to take care of. Who are your ideal patients? And I'm sure Dr. Mike's talked to you about defining your ideal patient in the past. Who is that? And then define your posture programs, your posture workshops, your posture kits around those people. And guess what? They'll stay every time and they'll refer more patients to you. And then etching your spot on social media. So we have such a unique advantage in this day and age, right? Not only do we get to educate our patients in our practices, but we get to talk to them when they leave, and we get to do that with social media. This is unique, and this is exciting because where we couldn't ever do this in the past, now we can continue to keep the conversation going with them and position ourselves as the expert to new patients, but also with retention to our current patients. So it's really important to etch your spot on social media. Now, guys, it took me years. It took me failure after failure of being on the treadmill to learn all of this. You can really become the go-to posture expert in your community by integrating these steps, and you can do it in the next month. Never lower your price, always raise your value. This is a really important concept that all of us need to hear, understand, and feel. Because when you're trying to grow your practice, if you're anything like me, like I was, it was like I would just lower my price. I would give stuff away for free. I would lower my value. But really, what I was doing is I was putting myself down here. It was a race to the bottom. So never lower your prices. Always raise your value. Become the go-to expert. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of your practice. Be proud of your services. And deliver every single time on those objective results. Now, no single certification made me a posture expert. That's why we created the American Posture Institute. That's where the American Posture Institute was born, out of a need. Because where I had to read, thousands of research studies, I had to fly around the world taking seminars. I spent years collecting this information, and I had to figure out implementation on my own. By becoming a certified posture expert, you can integrate these protocols to instantly start building your credibility, get better clinical results, and position yourself as the go-to posture expert. I mean, imagine if you could get help becoming the go-to posture expert within your community in the next 30 days. You can become a certified posture expert. Finally, a solution that makes sense. Now, here's the thing, guys. I'm not here to sell you anything today, but I am here to help you get started. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, we live by the core value that your success is our priority. So because your success is our priority, what I want to do is I want to give you that guide so that you can go through step by step to integrate these practices into your current practice and increase your bottom line, your profitability of your practice by $100,000 this year by being the go-to posture expert. So the link is provided right here. It's kind of a long one, so maybe I can just post it in the comments as well for everybody who's listening later. It's api.americanpostureinstitute.com/profit from posture. So again, in this guide, I have it laid out for you step by step. This is everything that I wish that I had when I was sprinting on the treadmill, trying to get ahead, trying to make ends meet, wondering, am I going to have to give up and go home? Those are the thoughts that I had. For all of us, it's different. It's wondering if we're going to be able to take care of our family. Are we one bad month away from closing our business? That's how I felt. And so my goal and my mission is to help position you as the go-to posture expert so you never have to feel that way, so that you can stay in your zone of genius, which is clinical outcomes, and have your practice working for you. So go ahead and download that free guide. And I'm here. Your success is our priority, to help you with anything else I can. Dr. Mike, any questions that I can answer? Anything else from there?
Chris, I can't agree with you more, because we use a postural correction structural technique. It's so critical that doctors move in that direction, because what I found is structure and posture also goes hand in hand with the neurology. So when you're making postural changes, you're making neurological changes, you're making lifestyle changes with your patients. So absolutely, I'd love to see the whole profession move in that direction. And I love the idea of having a home-based kit that they can take home. I mean, if you make those recommendations to your patients during report of findings, and you say, hey, we also recommend this kit, you make it affordable. I mean, that's a huge upsell on your report of findings. So I love what you're doing there. So for those, because this is going to be podcast as well, Krista, we're going to put this into the library and send it out as a replay. For those who are listening to this on the podcast, it's api.americanpostureинstitute.com/profit from posture. I think that's critical, that doctors move in this direction, start implementing this in their practice. So absolutely. So, hey, we got a lot of doctors on. I see Alan, I see Elizabeth, I see John, I see Davis. If you guys have a question, there's a little hand you can put up and ask a question. I'm going to just sort of unmute people here as well. So if you have a question, you can just go ahead and ask it. Just make sure you're in a quiet room, because this is being recorded. We have a lot of people on, and we'll get Alan there too. Alan, good to see you again. So if you have any questions for Krista Burns, just feel free to ask. Go ahead.
Cool. And as you guys are chiming in, I just want to say that you guys, so much of this, of being successful in practice and getting ahead, is showing up. So thank you so much to everybody who's here and who's a part of this group, because I know that you guys are all, chiropractic masters. You guys are doing everything that you can to stay ahead of the curve. So I'm just here to answer any questions that you have based upon what we talked about, or anything clinical as well. Like, clinical is my jam. So if you have any questions about neurology, about postural correction, I'm all ears to help you out here.
All right. Any questions out there, guys, at all? Feel free to either ask it. The audio is open, or you can just hit the little chat button at the bottom and type in a question if you don't want to do an audio. All right. Hey, no questions at all. So, Krista, one more time, just the contact information to get their free guide.
Cool. If you guys want to get the free guide, it's called Profit from Posture, and we're going to go through step by step how you can increase your profitability with posture. It's api.americanpostureинstitute.com/profit from posture. And if you want to follow us on social media, it's facebook.com/American Posture Institute. I highly recommend doing that, because we're, just like we have the opportunity of connecting virtually today. We do a lot of ongoing trainings, specifically around posture, around postural correction, and around neurology. In fact, our postural neurology program is one of those that really stands out with helping you get, the best postural correction results from a neurologic brain-based perspective.
Fantastic. And just a nice comment from Dr. John Clark. Very good presentation. Do you have an interesting case testimonial that you could talk about?
Yeah, actually, one of the pictures that I had showed previously was Alejandro. And what was really interesting is that I specifically remember when his mom called. And she called, and it was one of those where my staff is like, she really wants to talk to you on the phone. And I'm like, oh, I can't talk to everybody on the phone, but okay, fine. So I got on the phone with her, and she was in tears. And she's like, listen, my son, Alessandro, is going to go in for back surgery. I heard about you guys. Do you think you can help him out? I said, absolutely. Bring him in. Let's see what we can do. And so I followed the protocols. I talked about our complete postural correction program. And on day one, we did the posture analysis, complete posture analysis, including posture imaging. And what we could see is not only did he have a scoliosis and abnormal, lateral curvature, but we saw indication of forward head posture. We saw postural hyperkyphosis, sway back posture, you name it. And after looking at the posture images, it was really clear where we needed to work to correct the postural distortion patterns. Well, now fast forward, and he was one of our really dedicated patients, which I always appreciate, because they came in that critical scenario. It's like, it's this or it's surgery. And what was so great about his results is not only did he have complete postural correction results, but how that impacted his life. So we were able to prevent surgery. On top of all of that, it was like he came in with a new look and a new smile every time he came into practice. Because where at first he was completely hunched over and shy and timid and in a negative mode, it was like he came in standing up taller and was so confident in his body image. What's important about that is I think he was 14 years old at the time, 14, 15. For a 14-year-old kid to prevent surgery, to be happy with their body, and to be living pain-free. And on top of it, he started winning all of his swimming meets too. So where at first he couldn't keep up with his friends, now he was able to beat his friends in a swim meet. So what we were able to do for his quality of life was tremendous. It was incredibly impactful. And when you can get those results, which I know you guys are getting great results every day in practice too, a lot of people in chiropractic, we talk about those miracle cases, and I like to stay away from that word miracle. I'm all about expected outcomes. Like, this is where you are on day one. These are your exact postural distortion patterns. We're going to follow this plan to get you there, and we're going to follow these objective strategies to evaluate that along the way. And guess what? We have every indication that what we do is going to help you. So it's not a miracle, it's an expected outcome. And helping people like Alessandro every day is just so fulfilling. So thanks for that question, and thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it.
I agree with you, Krista. Objective criteria, having something that's expected and you can measure on the way out with your patients. So, and they're going to be seeking anticipation and expectations of outcome measurements if they know normal from abnormal. So fantastic. All right. Great testimonial. Thanks, John. Listen, guys, thanks for being on with us tonight on this Master Talk. Krista, thank you once again for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and all the goodies you have in the free guide from API. Well, thank you and Mark for what you guys do for the profession and for sharing with us tonight.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, everybody who's here live, everybody who's watching later. And I just want to give a big shout out to all of the people that you're helping, Dr. Mike, because I know that you are just helping people grow their practices and make a huge impact. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for the great work that you do.
Chris, it's my pleasure. Keep up the great work. We need leaders like you helping this profession. So thanks again, guys, for being with us. Krista, thanks for sharing tonight. And make sure you guys can listen to this in the replay, in the library, and on a podcast. So thanks again, guys. Until our next Master Talk, Power Talk, or webinar, keep practicing with passion.
Thanks again, guys.